Welcome to the landing strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the landing strip, brought to you by From Financial. As look out, baby, the Winnipeg Jets have won 2 games in a row in a matchup this afternoon at Canada Life Center of the NHL's 2 biggest messes as things currently stand. We get and sneak out a W on a night where neither team wanted to play defense in this one. I don't know where the chat's at yet. We're going to talk about it. But my biggest takeaway, leaving this one, if both owners woke up tomorrow and fired their GMs, coaches, everybody involved with putting that product out on the ice, I'd understand it. Very, very rare situation to watch than what we just watched in the NHL. Some good. Cole Perfetti is coming around. Might there be some Cole Perfetti discussion and the steps he's taken lately? Is there going to be a Connor Hellebuyck conversation if they blow this one? Is he wearing the Tank Commander helmet on this night with the juicy rebounds? Is a win against the New Jersey Devils as they publicly come apart at the seams yesterday while they're sitting in Winnipeg a big accomplishment? I can't say I'm too worried about all of this at this point. Mikey, how are you doing today? Where should we go on this afternoon?
Look, I think it's important in life to appreciate the little victories. And I think we just got to keep finding those little moments throughout the rest of the season. Win or not, win or loss, that part doesn't really matter too much to me. The question is, how do I feel coming out of the games now? That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. I'm happy to see our boy Cole Perfetti go out and start reminding people that there is offense to his game. But before I get into any and all of that, again, we're so not used to wins right now. I almost completely forgot that we got to hit it.
Got to bring the vibes.
We got to bring the vibes back. So. Yeah, in a game where the team isn't going to put this one up in the rafters, this isn't going to be one that they're going to want to watch back a lot to feel good about themselves. The little victories for me in it were the Cole Perfetti renaissance is back. He's finally got a little bit of offensive help on the opposite wing. He mentioned in his post game that the ankle is finally feeling better. Arniel even talked about how what Cole is able to do with the puck right now is so much different than what he was able to do with it just like a couple weeks ago. So the health factor's back into play now with Perfetti, and the offensive game starting to show through. So for me, that's my big kind of takeaway coming out of this one. Love to see the progression of Cole Perfetti. Hopefully we get a run of it now, right? Some consistency behind it. Because I want to see him do well. I want to see him, perform well. He deserves it after the work that he's put in. And like I said yesterday or the other day when we had the last show, I still think there is a really good offensive player that you have access to in Cole Perfetti if you can just help him along a little bit here. If you can get him the right line mates in the right situation, I think you can still unlock a really, really good player there. And I'll keep dying on that hill.
Yeah, I'm going to jump into the chat as the range of comments is quite fun to see. A lot of people, I think, get it. Over on Twitch, Grant Bancroft says, defense for the first 40 was awful, but offense in the last period was pretty good. Nice things from Fetz and Taves. We're going to have to talk about those two. Over on YouTube, we're getting some Matthew Hyman joking about resubmitting the parade route. Some Mangiapane or Kiefer Sherwood talk. We're not getting into those guys. That is not the takeaway from today's two games. Gilbert Marion says, before people start thinking they're back, no, this team has way too many holes. Cranberry says, scraped out a win versus a bad New Jersey team. The tank's intact. L. May says, we're okay to tank, everyone. No worries. This was a home game against the Devils, and in no way decisive win. We can't lose them all, or the boys are going to self-harm or something. Jordy Angus says, it was nice to see Perfetti to look like a real hockey player again, and says, realistically, the Jets aren't going to lose every remaining game this season. They're going to win some here and there. Let's keep the sanity intact. Let's not lose this mindset here. It is going to be okay. As Gilbert says, even the blind squirrel can find a net. Enjoy the wins. They just won games that were 50-50 hockey games against two of the teams that are currently the biggest mess in the NHL. Some may decide, and I think it would be foolish, to look at that as look out. The corner has been turned. It's going to be okay. I look at that as, hey, we're in the same conversation, those guys, and we snuck out a couple W's. Don't worry. They win this game. They get 2 points. They don't move. 31st in the NHL. On a night where Connor Hellebuyck, I didn't think looked too comfortable. The rebound situation there from the Jets number one had me thinking about that Eric Comrie take last show.
Yep.
Top line, I think left some to be desired on this night. And Mike Rowling says, Arneal attempted to be the tank commander by putting out 55 and 81 last minute. Don't think this was their shining night. Perfetti and Taves continue to build off some chemistry. We see a multi-point game from Cole Perfetti. We see a multi-point game from Josh Morrissey. We see no defense being played as part of this problem with the goaltending as well. Everything looked out of sync at times for the Winnipeg Jets defensively, but they sneak through an NHL franchise who is currently going through a bit of a mutiny after Quinn Hughes did not get traded to New Jersey to play with his brothers. They had asked players like Dougie Hamilton and Andre Palat to waive their no-trade clauses. They did that, and the Devils still didn't get things done. We just beat a team 4-3 in a game that it looked like the Winnipeg Jets would realistically lose at multiple points of this one to a team that's coming undone at the seams and likely has the next big firings coming in this league. I'll say this, for the transaction junkies, I mapped out a couple trade scenarios to take advantage of a team like the New Jersey Devils in the situation we find ourselves in. We'll get into that in the second half of the show. But this was a fun hockey game where you get some highlights off of bad play from both teams. And you get a 4-3 hockey game in-house. Enjoy the fun behind the sport still. It is still entertainment at the end of the day. Don't worry about this tank turning around so much because they barely squeak by a New Jersey Devils team that likely sees the next big dominoes fall around this league somehow before the Winnipeg Jets dominoes fly.
Yeah, the kind of the funny or ironic thing that I was thinking about earlier was that with the Jets, I think more of the issue they've had, this season, and we've talked about it a lot, is that it's more of a talent-related issue than, maybe. I think a lot of people were attributing it being as, the locker room is lost, or they're so weak mentally that they can't win these games. I honestly don't think that was it for a lot of the issues that the Jets were facing. I think it was more so based on talent and then fatigue late in games kind of starting to wear in, like we've talked about, because you've got guys playing way over their head. Whereas Jersey, I think it is actually 100% the mental issues within that that locker room right now. It feels much more that it is, personality and just kind of, mental slump based in Jersey than it is, I thought, here in Winnipeg at any point. But the fact that they were barely able to get by both Jersey and the LA game wasn't some, big shining example of the recipe. Even Scott Arniel in his post game today said for the first two periods, it looked a lot like the losing streak. The issues they were having during that, So it's
100%.
like the problems aren't solved. They're not going on a run, quite yet that I can buy. They were able to get. It was a coin flip game, and they just happened to be on the positive side of it today.
I think that's the best way to put it, a coin flip game. That's what this was to me. You were almost waiting to see in this game what team was going to make the next mistake rather than who was going to take this game, is how I viewed this one. But some of the good in it, let's focus on it. Let's go to the Jonathan Toews, Cole Perfetti thing of it all. This was a night. They lost the shot attempt battle. They played the third most minutes. That was a bit of a coin flip between them and the Lowry line. They win the quality of output when you look at the expected goals. They outscore their opposition 2-0. You see some of the Toews and Perfetti chemistry come on the Toews goal that looked like Perfetti scored originally, where Toews finds Perfetti for a little break. Forehand, backhand, top corner. It doesn't go in, but Toews ends up putting it in. Then later you see another bit of a rush attempt. Morrissey to Perfetti, and Gabe Vilardi finishes it off. What did you see out of that offensive group that Arniel himself has suggested is the secondary offensive group coming into their own? What do you see from Perfetti, Toews, Vilardi, and what that line's doing right now? Is that line going to push the tank out of reach?
And there might not be a popular answer, but no, I don't think that they've really hit some amazing stride where they're going to pull them out of it. They have two big scoring lines now, and they're going to start rolling through. I think you could probably have almost any center on that line between Perfetti and Vilardi right now and have very similar, if not better, results. Unfortunately, again, I don't want it to be that I'm shitting on Toews or anything like that. That's the way that I've kind of seen it play out. The results are better, absolutely. They're getting some puck luck, which is huge. But at the end of the day, I still don't think they're not winning their minutes. They're still not really able to handle a lot of the defensive side of things, as well as you would guess that a line with both Toews and Perfetti, who showed himself to be a pretty good defensive player last year, kind of would be able to be. So, I still don't think that's the long-term answer, and I don't think that's going to pull them out of the tank. But it is nice to see the box score have Perfetti's name up on it so that he's feeling a little bit more. Same thing for Toews, right? And Vilardi, who continually is getting points, whether it's on that first line or on this second / third line, however you want to look at it.
For sure. Some of the thoughts in the chat. Gilbert Marion said, since they put Vilardi on the line, it's improved a lot. Cranberry said, hey, you give them a better winger in Vilardi, and they get going. Who would have thought? Ryland Medwick said, just stopping by, Feds played fantastic today, and I'll dive into him a little bit more. L. May said, Perfetti wasn't set up for success before Gabe was on the line. He can't drive by himself. He needed more talent to play with. And then Cranberry says, and if 81 and 55 have another game, they'll demand Vilardi back. So out of that group, since Cole Perfetti got off the board, which, if I'm not mistaken, was set up by John Toews against the Vegas game, I think Cole Perfetti is a guy that does carry a lot of the stress and pressure outwardly, as you can see watching the guy. And I think it built up a lot in his game. I think we've been seeing a corner being turned for about maybe a week and a half here, and now the points are coming. But I saw a guy in Cole Perfetti who might have been the anti-tank award winner on this night, where I'm seeing a much more confident version of Cole Perfetti when he has the puck. Like that assist on the Vilardi play, That's a high confidence sequence from a player I think has been battling that side of the game and shows a flash of why maybe he should get some runway, especially in a market that gave Logan Stanley 10 years. Maybe we can give Cole Perfetti a bit of time to work through these things when he's shown a bit of a higher ceiling. I think Jonathan Taves' game has ticked up in the offensive side of the game with what he's seeing and creating on that side of things. And I think Gabe Vilardi has actually played up really well off of them. I do wonder about that line over the long spear of things with the pace at which they play. But they have a little bit of juice right now. They're getting some confidence back in their youngest player, outside of Danny Shelkin, who's still with the team. I've liked what I've seen from the Cole Perfetti, John Taves, Gabe Vilardi group.
Yep, 100%. Like you said, they just got to give him a little bit of runway, give him somebody to play with, right? Give him some time to work off of it. We even noticed it last year, right? Ehlers and Perfetti maybe weren't the best stylistic choice at the time, but once they had a run of games together, you started to see them build some chemistry, learn where the other ones would be on the ice, and it started to work out, right? So if you can give him some time with Vilardi, give him a longer run of it, and like we said too, the health is a big factor. He mentioned it himself. Even Arniel mentioned it, that his ankle is feeling much better and he's able to do things with the puck that he wasn't able to because of that maybe limitation on the injury. So yeah, confidence is sky high right now for Perfetti, and hopefully they can ride that for a bit.
Yeah, we will see where that continues to go. Some more thoughts on that in the chat. Jordy Angus says, Vilardi and Fetz looks good today. It always comes back to the team having no credible 2C. Gilbert Marion says, good for him. He isn't quitting. And Caitlin Doucette says, as critical as I've been of him at times, it's felt like he has been unfairly singled out and scapegoated by the coaching staff at times. And I do think there is a bit of that both. I think the Cole Perfetti convo has a lot more nuance than's been allowed at times. But there was much more going on than just a bit of a Cole Perfetti breakout. The Winnipeg Jets get on the board early in this one. Alex Iafallo gets a couple cracks at it. The bounces were sure going their way at times in this one. But this was another game where last-minute goals creep in. The Jets go up with 1-0, 1:10 to go in the first, and somehow don't even get to the intermission. Nico Hischier finds himself all alone as Mark Scheifele loses him net front. Somehow, in a span of like 2 minutes of gameplay, the Winnipeg Jets made Luke Hughes like a quality defender as he sets up the Nico Hischier goal. And then on the other side of things, Cody Glass scores 1:05 into the second off of Luke Hughes and Jack Hughes. Cody Glass continues to pile onto the Manitobans, making things tough for the Winnipeg Jets of late. Scores both goals in the second period for the New Jersey Devils. What is it with the Winnipeg Jets and the end of those periods? What was it with them coming undone so often defensively? A few things that stuck out to me with the New Jersey goals. I think Connor Hellebuyck's rebound control, and I thought I saw a guy that overcommitted side to side quite a bit today, where once he was gone, there was no saving it. But I also thought the five guys defensively in front of him looked at times like a chicken with their heads cut off. They win this game, but was this an example of what Kevin Cheveldayoff is talking about the defensive structure being such a big problem for this team? Because that's what I saw today.
Yeah, it's I had to check that it wasn't retro night tonight, and it wasn't Andre Pavlik in net for the Jets, with the way that Hellebuyck was just all over the place, side to side, putting himself out of position like that. It was crazy. It honestly feels, with the Hellebuyck thing specifically, it feels like a little bit like a goalie playing behind a team that he doesn't trust at the moment. That's, you know what I mean? It just feels like he thinks he's got to be way over on each side, overcommitting, because he doesn't trust that the guys are going to be in place to help him out there, especially down low. So that's, there might be a little bit of trepidation stuck in his game there because of the bad run that we were just on. In terms of the structure overall, I don't know if I'm still ready to say that that's what the problem is, because I think like the game plan itself for the Jets, if they had the team that they were putting out last year, essentially still works. It's not that, I don't think it's the structure itself. I think it's the execution of said plan by the players who, again, a lot of them just aren't in the right position because they're being kind of overplayed a lot of the time. So yeah, I'm not really sure I'm ready to chalk it up fully to that it's the defensive structure that's the problem. I think they still have a good game plan overall. I just don't know if they're able to execute it.
Yeah, I watched this game, and I thought this was a shining example of actually what Chevy's been talking about. Because this was a game, and I thought this was true for both teams. Like, it was, 21-18 in shots on goal today, and both teams nearly put up 4 expected goals. I mean, in a 4-3 hockey game with 21-18 in shots, you shouldn't expect both goalies to actually carry a positive expected goals saved above when you look at breaking down the numbers. This was a game, it was like 14-12 in high danger chances on a night where there wasn't many shots. I thought both teams' defensive breakdowns explained the entire story of this hockey game. There wasn't a goal that went against the Winnipeg Jets where I went, oh, this is one mistake. It felt like it was a collective 5-man unit. There was the one with the one-timer off Helly's pads, where 3 guys are lying on the ice while there's a wide open shot coming in down the middle of the group. I do think this was a glaring example of the defensive deficiencies the Winnipeg Jets have had. And it's an example, despite getting 2 points, why the Tank's going to be okay. They look like this and barely escape a win. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, if they had come out and dominated the Devils today and like really put the boots to them, like they had done to teams going through similar, bad streaks last year, we'd point out and go, that's what you want from a top team, right? If another team's, performing really poorly right now and they're not up there, you want them to come in and just absolutely smack them around. That's what they're supposed to do. So the fact that it was, still such a close game and the Devils are such a fucking mess, I think it's still going to be okay. Hopefully we'll still stay in contention for 100%. That high pick.
It's all good. Funny convo going on over on Twitch. Got to see our boy Mike before the game today. Mike Friesen over on Twitch says, Alex Iafallo picked Kim Mitchell for his game song. There's no way he heard, might as well go for a soda until he came here. That guy listens to the radio in Winnipeg. In which Huge S. Vise let us know that it's actually go for soda, not go for a soda. Did you know that in music history? Here, Mikey.
I did not. That's I'm learning that in real time right now.
Let's move in because I already see on YouTube people are getting ahead of it. Let's go to the From Financial Face-Off early in this game, and then let's map out some trade situations with that team, with the New Jersey Devils that was just in town, and how the Winnipeg Jets, in the spot they find themselves, could take advantage of messy business like that. If you're new to the chat or you're just joining us now, we want to know in the chat, you're from Financial Face-Off, you're Triple F. What is the difference in this game? What brings the Winnipeg Jets a win? What slows down the Tank? What made this game what it was? Let's go to the From Financial Face-Off.
Let's hit it. Right on. We'll be opening the phone lines as well. 1-204-800-0409. 1-204-800-0409. Get on the line. Give us a call. Let us know you're from Financial Face-Off and anything else. And if you call in and you get through, you'll be placed on hold real quick just while we finish up whatever thought we're having or with the previous caller, and then you'll be next. So if you get through, you get put on hold. Just hang there. We'll grab you.
So, Mikey, as usual, What is your from financial face-off on this night here?
I've done a lot of existential ones the last little bit because we've had just such a run of very similar games and the Jets not being able to close things out and whatnot. But for today, just a really traditional kind of from financial face-off. I thought it was their ability to crash the net in a game that they didn't get a ton of shots and a ton of offense flowing through. They were able to get some secondary opportunities. They were able to make sure they were right in the goalie's face. They did a lot of good work down low. And I thought that really ended up being the difference for the offense today. So, crashing the net, working down low. I think that was their big change, their from financial faceoff.
And it does create some havoc. We see it on that goal where I don't know what they were telling you on the broadcast, but one thing I was wondering about on that scramble goal that banks off a bunch of people on the way in. Talk about good bounces, eh? Do you know what they were hoping to challenge? Because watching from where I was in house, it looked like Sheldon Keefe was quite wired up. I don't know if the screens on the bench weren't working or something, but he kept kicking the ground and was frustrated that he didn't get to see it clearly. Do you know what were they saying was being considered there based on the bounces on the way in?
It went through so quick, and the fact that they didn't challenge it, they barely even touched on it during the broadcast on that side of it. They just kind of went, yeah, the Jets getting some luck, getting the bounces going their way. They didn't really even talk too much about the thing, but I think it was as Cranberry said, they maybe they wanted a kicking motion to see if it was kicked in at any point. But yeah, because we didn't actually get the challenge.
Oh, Mikey. Over on the From Financial Faceoff, Al. May says not needing the first round to score every goal to win a game. Danica Smith says the From Financial Faceoff is having a second line. Gilbert Marion says the From Financial Faceoff was that Doug? Good point. I'll have to find Doug's point. It looks like it was a kicking motion, as James Robinson says IFL kicked it.
There we go.
There we go. And now I can hear you. I don't know what happened there, buddy.
My thing froze here.
No worries. Thank you for that. But it sounds like everyone believes it was a potential kicking motion.
Yep.
But Cranberry points out it went off the New Jersey player, so no kicking. So that's what was kind of being looked at there. Al. May's From Financial Faceoff is not needing the first line to score every goal to win a game. Jordy Angus is From Financial Faceoff is secondary scoring. Gilbert Marion's From Financial Faceoff was, I believe that goal was waved off, changed the momentum. For me, I think just because of the storyline of the season, the From Financial Faceoff is the secondary scoring. The storyline almost regularly has been the Winnipeg Jets get multiple goals from their top line and power play at times and get nothing from anybody else. They get goals from everybody but the top guys and win a 4-3 hockey game. For me, the From Financial Faceoff has to be the Winnipeg Jets finally getting some secondary scoring, whether it comes off great bounces or not. It has to be.
Yeah. The Jets got so many, quote unquote bad bounces during the course of the run that things balance out, right? Like it evens out over the course of time. So they need to get a few of them going their way. And you saw that today. So it was nice in that aspect that they can finally get a little bit of things going their way.
Yeah. You want this thing to break, but maybe not to break all at once.
Yeah, you don't want it to break their spirit.
You'd be surprised. Hugh Jazz Vibes seems to have been on the same wavelength with his From Financial Faceoff being secondary scoring, though in brackets says bounces went mainly our way for that to happen, though. And that's why you don't worry about the Winnipeg Jets breaking into some big winning streak. Wake me up when they win 8 straight, and then you can ask me those questions.
Hey, they only need 28 more wins to make the playoffs now. We're starting the clock. We're starting the countdown. They got 28 more wins to go.
They do. So, Mikey, one thing I want to talk about, though, especially in the second half here, where we talk about some of the stories around the team. Me and you have harped on this idea that they're going to have to get creative, use their cap space, use their assets creatively to get out of the hole they found themselves in. I think what happened in the last 24 hours in Winnipeg with the New Jersey Devils represents one of those opportunities. In case our audience isn't fully up to speed, I'll pull up Pierre LeBrun's quotes as he was all over this yesterday. But as you know, watching the game today, Dougie Hamilton was a healthy scratch. Jonathan Kovacevic came back from the IR, and that pushed Dougie Hamilton out of the lineup. Jonathan Kovacevic, by the way, the Winnipeg Jets put on waivers and signed a nice $20 million contract.
Former third-round pick?
Former third-round pick. So, with all this in mind, what's been going on behind the scenes is the New Jersey Devils were trying to trade for Quinn Hughes, but they've been trapped by no trade clauses and big money that they couldn't fit him. So, Pierre LeBrun says, this is what happened yesterday while things were breaking down that I think provides opportunities moving forward for the Winnipeg Jets. Pierre LeBrun reached out to J.P. Barry and his response to Dougie Hamilton getting healthy scratched. Dougie was informed today that he will not be playing now that Kovacevic is back in the lineup. In our view, this decision is all about business rather than his game right now. Singling him out seems very calculated at this stage. Dougie has a 10-team trade list, and there have been efforts to trade him going back to the draft last year. We have made it clear to the Devils that we will consider teams outside our list and our creative ways to get the team that is mutually acceptable to both sides. Tom Fitzgerald, the GM, who will likely be the next GM canned, in response to that, said, as you know, we just put Nemec back in the lineup on Thursday. He's a young guy who we want getting his game back, where he had been easily our best defenseman before his injury. Pesce's play speaks for himself. He isn't going anywhere. And Kovacevic coming back gives our roster a spark we are looking for. He was our best offensive defenseman for the last year. And that's all we want in our lineup right now. This is simply Dougie being the odd man out with our right side is fully healthy for the first time all year. This is business of our lineup. Clearly, sensitive topic. This is business after all. And when there is bad business going on, that means there is opportunities that blossom when there's tough business. You see all this playing out, Mikey. Is there an opportunity here for the Winnipeg Jets to get creative and insert themselves in helping the Devils with their situation here?
You know, there definitely is, but I can't help get past the slight bit of irony of trading for a player from the Devils who's been unseated from his position on the roster by a player the Devils claimed off of waivers from the Winnipeg Jets because somebody was 6'7". It's kind of funny. It's a little bit weird. Yeah, there definitely is, right? You want to take advantage of GMs and teams that are going through big public things like this because it backs them into a corner. It puts them in a less powerful position, and that's kind of what you want to do in trades, right? Unfortunately, you want to try to take advantage of the other side to make the value come your way. And I know you've spent some time on Puckpedia kind of mapping out how something like this could work. So I'm real excited to see, to hear you explain that out to us.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. Because there's two frames of light that you could look at this from. Let's keep in mind the Winnipeg Jets have about $7.3 million cap space today. The Devils' situation at its crux, the problem is when they got healthy, they'd need to clear about $5 million. They're about 4.2 mil over the cap. They've been wanting to trade a Palat, he's $5 million to get out of that. They've been wanting to trade a Dougie Hamilton because he makes $9 million. And you look at the right side of names we talked about, from a business perspective, it makes sense here. So the first If you're a retool on the fly kind of person, the first opportunity comes from the idea that you can go get a Dougie Hamilton, who's no longer worth $9 million, but you could probably get an asset to bring him on and actually upgrade your right side when you look at things. This is not the avenue I'm actually here to sell you. But if Dougie Hamilton was willing to wait to Winnipeg, and I doubt we're one of those 10 teams, I do see a retool scenario where you acquire Dougie, you take on a pick for helping the Devils out of their situation, you plug him into your top four, you move off of DeMello or Pionk for offensive help, and all of a sudden, I see the retool path, and you're kicking things down. You're kicking the can down one season further and actually upping your asset base, in my opinion, because if you were to retain money on Dougie Hamilton, you can do better after the fact. It's almost like the Jake Wallman situation from Detroit to San Jose. I'm going to pitch another path, though, because I think we'd all assume, especially in 31st place, Dougie Hamilton is not going to waive to come save the Winnipeg Jets. I don't think anyone's looking at this situation. We want to talk about some of the goodwill Cheveldale's built up. There's a lot of talk about the Winnipeg Jets being at the top of the league could be a good sales pitch. He burnt that all in 6 months, so we don't even have that pitch going. But let's talk about it. Because situations like this, and JP Barry was asked about it, and he mentioned the idea of finding creative solutions to find Dougie a home that's acceptable from. If you're the Winnipeg Jets and you came into the season and we talked about it, they weren't a cap team. They left room for Ehlers, and if Taves would have hit all of his bonuses, that money would have fell into next year. So they came into this year expecting, if all worked out, to spend over the cap. We talked about this back in training camp. It's time to use those dollars to benefit the Winnipeg Jets and their asset accumulation stage. If you want to pull off either a rebuild or a retool, you have to find ways to accumulate future value in the form of picks and prospects. Part of the Jets' problem right now is the rentals they have outside of a Logan Stanley aren't that valuable. You're going to get mid to late picks that you're going to then try and pawn off for better players. Not that easy. Sounds great talking about it. Not that easy. You're going to have to get the first and second rounders or the B prospects and that type of stuff in here. So if you're a team like Winnipeg that hasn't spent to the cap and your asset base outside the big guys that no one wants to touch, not allowed to touch the big boys, how do you get assets here? Let's find solutions. The Winnipeg Jets should be calling up the Devils and playing the role of banker for the Devils, finding Dougie Hamilton a new home. Let's play this out. I ended up mocking this out last night to go to San Jose. We ended up finding out hours later he doesn't want to go to San Jose, so they're not in this. But we're going to take the principle of this on how the Winnipeg Jets can creatively use their situation to get picks back quick to try and retool or rebuild. So this is just a mock idea of it all. We're going to look at sending a guy like Nino Niederreiter to New Jersey. Depth forward for a team that still does want to be competitive, even though they find themselves in a spot. And we're talking about at New Year's Eve there, maybe a late second, third round pick for Nino at this stage. We're going to send Nino to the Devils. We're going to become the middle ground for Dougie Hamilton. So what we just did for the Devils was shave off $5 million of their cap, which settles their cap problem to the T. They also just upgraded their depth, and we're going to ask the Devils for their second round pick. So you start to reaccumulate those assets that went out for Luke Shen and Brandon Tanev. You're still falling down the second round, but given the Devils season, it might be a top half second round pick. Now you're sitting there and you're eating 50% on Dougie Hamilton, and you're becoming the pivot team. And at a Dougie Hamilton at 50%, 4.5 mil over this year and the next two, you're likely getting a first round pick and some type of asset like a B prospect or whatnot to simply be that intermediary for teams that are cap strapped and need the cap situation. So you just went into a situation where Nino Niederreiter is a bit of a guy you might want to move from. And by offering him to a team while alleviating them a cap, you've heightened his value by getting a second in the trade that he's used for. You've then taken that situation, ate half the cap, and turned it into a first-round pick and another asset. Why would the Winnipeg Jets do this? The Devils, it's very obvious. They need to clean up their cap sheet. They've made a messy situation for themselves. The Winnipeg Jets, let's map this out even further. This is the type of stuff they got to be thinking about and trying to take advantage of. So you just turned Nino Niederreiter, who, if this happens at the deadline, you owe like $1 million the rest of the year and $3.5 million in real dollars next year. So $4.5 million. In cap space, he's a $4 million cap hit. Over that first 2 years, so the rest of this year and next year, Dougie Hamilton is paid a base salary of $1 million. So at 50%, you're covering from the deadline on $125,000 or so. The big swallow is July 1st, you're paying out $3.75 million of a signing bonus, which brings us up to just under $4 million. And then he's got a $1 million base the rest of next year, so you're paying $500K. So when you look at the next 18 months, you're basically paying out the same amount of money to Nino Niederreiter's asset as you are eating cap for the Dougie Hamilton asset. You're getting paid a first and a second to do this. The hard part for the Jets accounting purposes is we know they don't like the signing bonuses. At the end of this, you end up spending $2.75 million on his last year and having a $4.5 million dead cap hit. When we're projecting out the Winnipeg Jets 3 years out, are we expecting with the cap rises for them to be a cap team? You're actually just creating an asset for yourself with money you're likely not spending. The total of this project is about $7 million over the next 3 years in real money. Free dead cap hit for a team that probably won't use that cap. And you're getting a first, second, and a type of B-type prospect in this type of maneuver. This is the type of thing we haven't seen Kevin Cheveldayoff pull off. This is the type of thing a Bill Zito would be looking to do. Teams that are savvy about the cap, these are the type of moves that you're looking to make. If you're someone that wants this team to retool or gain as much assets as possible, this is the type of thing that we got to be considering and trying and getting into here. Now, as Jordan Voss says, you might as well propose this to an actual goldfish. Chevy is never going to do this. We haven't seen the Winnipeg Jets do something like this. I've had people reach out and wanted us to walk through the idea of weaponizing cap and how you could do it. This is the type of scenario and wrapping your head around how this all works, where the Winnipeg Jets could actually gain assets by simply playing the role of banker. Mikey, what do you think of that?
You know, for an organization that has talked so much about how it's draft and develop, hard to get free agents, you know, to come here. But once they're here, they love it, but it's tough to acquire players and, you know, all these type of things. We know that the best path forward for them is draft capital, right? Getting those high picks, trying to find those good prospects to bring in, excuse me, because you've got that time of control on them. This is such a great way to help you improve that standing, to kind of refill the coffers without taking away from your main lineup, right? Everybody, you know, we've talked a lot about how a retool or a rebuild doesn't actually start until you move a core piece for the most part. And that's how, you know, you can kind of mark the start of it, because you need a big piece to bring in big futures. That's just the way the league works. This is a way of doing that without having to subtract from your main roster, without having to drop one of those guys that everybody's got their favorite, right? Everybody's got that one guy where you bring up the trade and you're like, no, we can't do it for that guy for X, Y, or Z reason. This lets you, you know, again, kind of kickstart that without doing so. The same way that a ethical tank that's going on right now is such a good way to help kickstart that process going forward, again, without having to dump somebody from the main roster, you know, one of the quote unquote core pieces right away. The fact that the Jets have never done this, though, up to this point, tells me a couple things. One, it tells me they're not likely to do it going forward, which is, add to the myriad list of reasons why I think we need a completely different vision when it comes to the management group. The other part that it tells me is that even if it is something that they have considered and thought about doing in the past, because there's been plenty of opportunity in the past where the Jets were not a cap team, were not a contending team, but have still not gone out and done this. And that tells me that they have probably an ownership structure that does not want to pay for dead cap, pay for, like you said, signing bonuses for things if they don't have to. And that's why they're not as willing to go out and weaponize adding on things to the books like that and being able to help teams out when it comes to the finances like that. So, yeah, do I expect it to happen? No, because they've never shown me that they're willing to be that creative and that aggressive with the acquisitions. But it's such a great idea, and it would fit exactly in with what they tell everybody that they want to do. This is exactly how you can keep that core that you absolutely love, that you say you want to commit to and you want to win with, and also give them the help that they need, the boost that's coming, and help the long-term health of your club.
Yeah, a couple comments in the chat say, Cranberry says, we've also never been in a situation quite like this before, so we'll see. Elias McCracken says, they never had the opportunity to do this, always been in the mix aside from years ago. I can see Chevy doing this. Disagree completely.
Yeah, disagree
this
completely.
This is the type of cutting-edge thing they have never once done in any spot when they've had an opportunity. When they retooled it around Cops trade, back then, the Winnipeg Jets have never seen the cap as an asset in this realm. And this is why I have trouble seeing the current management group pulling off a retool, because it's these type of levers that you're going to have to pull to juice and pull and get as much asset accumulated here to be able to pull this off. And we have never seen them even experiment trying to go a path down like this. And this is where they are letting down the market. There is so much talk about how hard the job is to do for the Winnipeg Jets. But the problem for someone like me that pays attention to other teams and looks to learn from a Mike Greer in San Jose, whose situation we're starting to mirror when he took over, or you look at a Bill Zito, is despite how hard it is to find spots in the league, or the Winnipeg Jets have so much going for them, they have never been cutting edge to look at things in this depth to help their asset base. Elias McCracken says, Nick, when was the last time this was available to do? Since 2019. This is available to do at virtually every deadline with unused cap space. This team wasn't a cap team even last year. You could jump into a deal and say, hey, we're not going to spend this $4 million. We'll eat your cap and take a third-round pick. This is available every single year that you don't use your maximum cap. This idea that, this is just something Kevin Cheveldayoff's never been able to do before, so we shouldn't have held him to that standard, is why we're here. The reality we're bringing up as a necessity right now, being an idea that we've never seen this GM use in 15 years, is a problem. And why people should doubt the retool, because things like this are basic economics in this league for the smartest franchises right now. And we've never seen Kevin Cheveldayoff do it once in 15 years, despite it being there as an option for 15 years. This idea that, I could see him doing it, he's never done it before. His mind's, the problem is, if we're being honest, a call from Kevin Cheveldayoff to Tom Fitzgerald goes like this. Hey, Tom, how's it going? Good. You? Good. I'm looking to see if somehow we're one of the teams that Dougie would wait for. Sorry, Chev. Winnipeg's not on that 10-team list. All right, thank you, Tom. We'll keep poking away. We'll go find Jesper Koch in Miami next. The Winnipeg Jets would end the phone call at the idea that they could not get the player to waive. I refuse to believe that this is just some unheard of thing that they've never tried because they've never had to, because they would never take the convo to that spot. And that's where it's frustrating being a fan of the management group of this team, because the idea of them even thinking this far outside a limited box doesn't exist. And that's where someone like me gets frustrated, because every angle like this has to be taken serious at this moment in time.
Yeah, to say that it's never been available to him is just funny because it's been 15 straight years. They've had plenty of opportunities where they were nowhere near a cap team, and this isn't a situation of even, you don't need a lot of the time somebody to, waive to come to Winnipeg to make this type of thing work. Eating a bad contract and taking an asset for it is something that's available to every team all the time. It's not there's not some like extra thing that's going to be vetoed because of, the other team doesn't want to dump their cap. That's not what this is, right? They're paying you to take on a piece. You're helping them. It's not a situation of other teams holding that away from the Jets to try to get them. That helps the other team. The fact that we haven't done it is because of us, right? That is a choice the Jets have made, that's not a path that they're going to pursue. Again, I put that more so most likely at the ownership level, saying they don't want to shell out that extra money for those type of things, because Chevy's probably had to say he hasn't had the idea also to me sounds crazy, because you have to, if you're awake, you're going to have this type of idea. If you follow the NHL as a fan and you're awake, you can have this idea. So I'm sure he's had the thought, but I don't think we have an ownership group that's willing to go down that route. And again, we've got 15 years of only one management and one owner, so we can very clearly say that's not in their cards.
Yeah, I want to shout out, someone had mentioned that this would block Salo. Salo would not get blocked at all. You're basically becoming the intermediary spot. Dougie Hamilton is not staying in Winnipeg.
We're just
it's
taking
just
cap.
a paper. Yeah, it's just a paper transaction to help teams along, to get assets in for the financial situation they find themselves. Dougie Hamilton's not blocking Dougie Hamilton's not blocking Salmonson. Though a guy like Dougie Hamilton is a level player they're going to have to need to get if you want to retool this in a year. So that's where the dilemma comes. But the idea of him coming to Winnipeg and blocking people, for one, he raises the ceiling. Two, that's not the plan here. It's using the Dougie Hamilton situation to accumulate more assets. But James Robinson reminds us, it's not fantasy hockey. Trades are hard. Okay.
Be realistic. As Chevy said.
You can only keep yourself in a box. But Al Dame nails it here, saying, if we have unused cap space, it's basically irresponsible unless they're trying to re-sign someone. Because at the end of the day, the salary cap number is a made-up number that expires every season and starts up at a different number higher the next year. You can't take it with you from season to season. If you're not maxing out the cap, you should be maxing it out, doing things like this on the 2 to 3 deals you're able to via the CBA to bring in more future assets. This is how, at the cost of the almighty dollar, and like I said, it's only a $7 million investment over a 3-year period, and over the next 18 months, it's the same amount of money in cash from Nino to the Dougie 50%, and you're using that scenario to bring a mid-second and a bottom, bottom 12 first. This is how you accumulate assets in the modern NHL. This is how you play the stock market game of the NHL. This is how you push a retool or rebuild along. This is what the Winnipeg Jets market should be looking for from Kevin Cheveldayoff in the next 2 months. It's creativity like this to juice the asset pool he could bring in.
Yep, 100%. I'm going to point out and give I think a quick correction. L. May says we're a draft and develop team and we have 10 picks in the next 2 years. No team has fewer. I believe we only have 9. I think I'm fairly certain, looking at Puckpedia, we only have 9 picks in the next 2 years, which is even worse.
And this is why the entire goal heading into the draft from here on out has to be asset accumulation. How do I maximize my current situation to accumulate as much future value as I possibly could? Some of that future value is going to contribute to the future of Winnipeg. Some of that future value might accumulate and become present value in the summer when new options become available, when teams are looking to pivot, teams are looking to do different things. It's concepts like this, and what we just walked through is how you get creative with the salary cap, net yourself more assets. It's conversations like this that we need to see from the Winnipeg Jets to pull off, to get the type of assets to keep everyone happy with this idea that you could just retool it overnight. It is these type of approaches we're going to have to see from the Winnipeg Jets that we've never seen before from this group pull off if you want to get me buying into the idea that they could retool quick.
Yeah, you can't both be saying that you still believe in this core and you still think that you can, fix this quickly and win, and then also be opposed to getting creative with how to do that, right? Like, I don't know how you can look at the way that they've had the last, 18 months go and then say, yeah, I think that they're able to go off and just, get some other different veterans this summer, and that will actually fix the problem, right? I don't see that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If you want to get out of this in a short, quick way, because you fully still believe that this core of guys, this Scheifele, Connor, Morrissey, Hellebuck, core is good enough to go out there and win a Stanley Cup, then why not try something like this? Why not embrace the way that this season is going, aim for that high pick, and then try to stock the cupboards up real quick with something like this? Use that cap space, get some help, get some capital, and, why make a shot at it? But to say that, you believe in this group and you want them to go at it, and also, no, I don't want to do something like this, I don't, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're taking on $2.75 million cash when you look at the difference between Nino and Dougie's accumulated cost of eating, that is, over 3 years. If you can get a first and a second at the cost of $2.75 million of movement assets, that is such a no-brainer in the economics of the NHL. We're talking about right now, it takes like a first-round pick to eat $5 to $6 million of cap hit. Never mind, you're eating that cap, but from a business perspective, you're only taking on $2.75 million to buy those picks from the teams that are desperate. This is the stuff we're talking about. Where I see Aldon May had said, I believe it was, or Caitlin Doucette, one of them had said over on YouTube, this is the type of convo that makes me wish and Eric Talsky was in house, because you would expect every turn to be or every stone to be unturned. Choices TK does point out, but Chevy will need that cap space after the retool this offseason for the trade deadline next year. Mm-hmm. It's like the old closer argument in baseball. And this is why this retool stuff is a lot more complicated than I think a lot of people are making it out to be when you actually put the idea into reality of what we're talking about. But this is like the whole closer argument in basement come playoff time. Do you want to bring them in the seventh inning against the heart of the other team's order with a one-run lead, or save them for a situation that might not come? The Winnipeg Jets don't have the option of waiting till next year and waiting till the deadline to
see how it goes. To get to that situation where you're at the deadline in a spot to be competitive, you need to make this kind of movement. And with where the salary cap's going and the current structure of the Jets contract-wise, I'm not too worried about $4.5 million cap space, especially when this year and next year, it's $500K difference from what you were going to allocate to Nino Niederreiter already. Yeah.
I think this is the type of stuff where you want to talk about checkers versus chess. I think the Jets play a lot of checkers. They keep themselves in a box. This type of concept is the type of stuff that is chess in the NHL and gets teams ahead of their situation. I need to see the Winnipeg Jets get out of their box and play a little chess with the game that is being played by billionaires and millionaires every single day around the National Hockey League.
Yeah, this is why you need a owner and a separate president of hockey operations. This is why you need those things divorced, because you need somebody who understands the hockey side of it, the hockey operational side, to go to the owner and lay this out. Hey, look, yeah, we need to spend this money because of X, Y, and Z reason. This is going to help us in the long term and the short term. This is how you're going to make the playoffs for longer stretches and make that. Like, you need somebody who can go to him and explain how this actually works, as opposed to a GM he owes his entire job to that, to that person who says you're going to be here forever, and an owner who thinks he's, a hockey operations, expert in this. Like it doesn't work when you need to get a slightly different idea or voice to kind of move things along when it's the same two that are never going to change.
Last on this, Eldon May says, and trade stand for a first. Imagine you use this tool to go from, hey, we don't have enough assets, to you do this, you have your own, and trade Stanley, and all of a sudden you have 3 firsts at this coming draft, or 4 firsts in the next 2 drafts to start maneuvering. Because if you get a lottery pick, guess what? You still need a 2C. You still need a defensive upgrade. You start seeing, by going down this path and getting creative and looking at things outside that box, you might be able to find that middle ground everyone has to have, but it takes doing stuff like this.
Yep.
Couple comments here. I see Barlow's become a bit of a convo on YouTube. Another one I'm glad people are coming around to, as I was selling gleefully all my Colby Barlow stock 2 years ago. Didn't mind his cap, though, and wanted to buy and dabble a little bit. Jets Empire says, I've been covering the Moose all year, and I'm starting to believe that using Barlow as a trade asset isn't that bad of a choice. Very underwhelming so far, unless the org will have more patience. Al Dame says, I'm not a huge Barlow believer either. I think at the end of the day, and this is another example of a bit of that asset management conversation with the management group. Once you're drafted to the Winnipeg Jets, you're stuck here forever until you ask out. There's no trades. There's only you and the waiver wire clock. The thing with me, and I thought it was pretty obvious from the first time he came to Winnipeg for a rookie camp, he can't skate at the NHL level. And I guess that's been maybe more of a trait with some of their prospects in that mid-tier range that haven't been pushing up. I think Colby Barlow is a tradable piece. I don't think the value is nearly what it would have been the last couple of years. But as part of a retool, if Colby Barlow leaves town, it won't bother me because I just don't believe he'll ever be a driving piece to the next version of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, if you can get some type of value that's going to help you kind of move things along, I've got no problem looking at Barlow as a piece there. Because, yeah, I don't think he's going to be a massive star, some headlining thing that you go, yeah, we can't give this up yet. He could be a complimentary piece on a line someday, but if you can turn that into something a little bit more of a sure thing, no issues on my side.
Mm-hmm. Hey, let's go into the Tankathon sim on the way out here. Despite the wins, this team is still 31st in the NHL. They could win the next 2 games and still be potentially 31st in the NHL. Let's not lose sight of the bigger picture. And on the way to that, as you get that set up, as we discussed, a way that you could use the cap to your advantage, Aldon May says, how do they not see success and want to imitate it? You see other teams do stuff like this and think, hell nah, ? Palmer Lane said, I said in the last chat, TNSE cares about the bottom line more than they do about winning. They aren't that serious. This is the type of stuff. If the Winnipeg Jets are serious about the path that we all believe they want to take, and a path that I think will lead them into a dark place with a retool, if they want to do it successfully or give themselves the best chance, what we outlined today with this concept of being an intermediary of the Dougie Hamilton situation, this is what we should be looking for from the Winnipeg Jets in the next 2 months. We'll see where it goes. There is assets to be made. There is always opportunity in businesses. It's time to adapt or die. Let's have these convos. Let's spread this stuff around. Let's go watch the Tank Sim. And we will go and see what we got here.
3, 2, 1. Jets have fallen 2 places. We're drafting 3rd.
Drafting
Anaheim 1,
3rd.
Vancouver 2.
Might miss Stenberg. Might miss McKenna. Might be in the debate between Lawrence and Verhoff, who I keep having a bigger debate, but we have many shows left to go into those debates. We can't just put it all out there on January 11th. Folks, thank you for being here after the Winnipeg Jets won their second straight hockey game. We have who? The Islanders.
Islanders are next Tuesday.
Up next, Matthew Shaver coming into Winnipeg. Can't wait to watch him live. We will see you Tuesday night after the Winnipeg Jets play the New York Islanders. Will they make it 3? Will they make the tank talk die down? Hint, it's not dying down until they win 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 in a row. But they have a chance at a streak here. We'll be back Tuesday as the Wonder Kid comes into Winnipeg. We'll see you all then.
Right on. Good night, everybody.